Hey everyone, this is the Love of Cinema podcast. We like to talk movies. If you like to talk movies too, you come to the right place.
Watching the film, you will understand the magic of cinema. There's a particular scene where he is sitting with his girlfriend and watching a Bruce Lee film.
Great scene, yeah.
So our character says that Bruce Lee to मर गया ना. So he says कहाँ मरा? देखो action कर रहा है screen पे. So that's the magic of cinema. Like cinema makes every person, every artist, every art form alive. Like they are like eternal.
What a year it has been for Indian cinema. It's all about Dhurandhar right now, and it very well should be, because it is not only the highest grossing Hindi film of all time now, but also a landmark film, a film that will prove to be a significant milestone. But the first 11 months prior to December were pretty solid too. This is Himanshu, and you're listening to the Love of Cinema podcast. So what were the first 11 months of 2025 like? Well, we had blockbusters like Kantara, Chhawa, and Sayyara. We had great art house cinema like Homebound and Superboys of Malegaon. We also had great regional cinema. There was Ponman, there was Bad Girl, there was April May 99, and there was Thudarum, and so many more good films. I was really delighted to have friends of the podcast, Vikram Bondal and Saurabh Nair, back on the pod for a 2025 year-end wrap, where we chopped it up about more than 15 films that made an impression on us, plus one film that was the biggest disappointment of the year for all of us. But before moving on, an important friendly reminder. Love of Cinema podcast is my labor of love, and with every episode, I've attempted to create something that cinephiles will continue to find value, not just today, but over time as well. If you enjoy organic conversations centered on Indian cinema, Love of Cinema podcast was created for people just like you. So if you enjoy the pod, please do consider supporting the show. Your support will help me continue creating content with shelf life for fans of Indian cinema everywhere. You'll find the link to support the show in the show notes. You can also support the show directly from the podcast website. It's fast, it's easy, and your support is greatly appreciated. And now, here's our 2025 year-end wrap. Good evening, gents. How's everybody doing?
All good, all good. Hello guys.
Great to have you guys back on the pod. And today we are going to be talking about 2025, which has been a great year. I think there has been a great variety of films to talk about. So let's dive right into it. And the first film that we're going to talk about is this little film that's playing out in the cinemas right now. It's called Dhurandhar.
To start with, a very bad joke is a sequel called Bhataudekar.
Yeah, I heard that one. Yeah.
What to say, man? I mean, every now and every few years, there's this one movie that comes and, nobody knows what to expect from it. And then it just slams the box office organically. I mean, here, I don't think there's any major campaign happening online or offline, pushing this movie. This is just pure word of mouth. And Dhurandhar is that movie for this year. It's crazy. I mean, I remember the teaser came out, I think, in July or so. And I saw the teaser and I was hyped. I'm like, okay, this looks really good. I'm not talking about the political stuff in it or anything. I just thought, okay, this looks like a good, solid action movie. I mean, that's something I can trust Aditya Dhar with. Then the trailer came out and I was a little confused. I was a little concerned because the trailer looked a little, I would say, phika, dull. And then, all the other news started coming out. Oh, this movie is 3 hours, 35 minutes. Then there's the news about it having a sequel, which I am told most industry insiders knew, but simple people like us on Twitter didn't know. So I was like, okay, this last minute sequel announcement doesn't really sound good.
Right.
But then, temptation took over, and I found myself at a Saturday afternoon show for the movie, and all I can say was just wow. Those two coffees I had before the movie really enhanced the experience because I was like totally wired, edge of my seat, and it's crazy, man. Like it's one of those movies where just everything, almost everything, I'd say 95% of the movie works. The 5% would be that romantic subplot, which, in my opinion, dulled the pace a bit. But otherwise, and what I truly admire about Aditya Dhar here is not many Bollywood directors nowadays believe, not just Bollywood, across industries, not many believe in the idea of world building. It's like, chal, let's get to the meat, let's cut to the chase, let's get to the action. But here, right from he knows that okay, this is my story. I want to tell it, and I'm gonna tell it the way I want, and that's how it starts off. I mean, right from that opening shot of Madhavan walking up to IC 814 and his glasses and everything, and what happens after, and then the whole backstory and all. And if you actually see the story sorts of comes into motion in the second half. Till then, it's just okay. We are building up to something. We are building up to something, but it's impressive how the build up itself, keeps you engaged throughout. And this is no small thing. One of the most impressive things for me personally about Dhurandhar is this. I think all of you go to the theater quite often today. Over the last 6 months, maybe you would have visited the theater a few times. You would have noticed one thing. A lot of people keep removing their phones every now and then during the movie. Himanshu, you have something to say on that.
No, that's a great point. Absolutely. I completely agree. I see where you're going with it.
This is a movie where even the most hyperactive Gen Z bunch, and I do not exaggerate because my show on Saturday afternoon was a last minute edition. It was added maybe 3 hours or 4 hours before when I booked my ticket. And what I recall is it was already 70% to 80% full. It wasn't house full. It was 70 to 80% full. I think the front 2, 3 rows were empty, but that didn't matter. And the entire crowd was a student crowd. It was a complete student crowd, and they are hooked. They are hooked. See, I keep seeing things on Twitter and social media that this movie contains a certain form of phobia, etc., etc. The crowd didn't seem to care for all that. The crowd across religions, caste, whatever, they were enjoying it. They were hooked. They were engaged. 3.5 hours. I didn't see too many people removing their phone and poking at it. I didn't see people whispering to each other. And when the movie ended, when we were walking out, all I heard was excited whispers like, "Sequel kab aayega? When is the sequel? Can't wait for it." And I think what this movie has also done is it's made people start reading up on Gary, on our intelligence operations, on IC 814, which is an achievement because I think a year back or so we saw a show on IC 814 on Netflix, which did quite well. But the kind of effect this movie had, I don't think that show would have had. Add to that, that second half, the red screen. You know what I'm talking about. Anybody who's watched that movie knows what I'm talking about. The whole theater went silent for those few minutes. I've not seen anything like it. I mean, I'm sure probably like I read in Anupama Chopra's book on Sholay, the first 2 weeks, people didn't know what they were watching, so they were silent. This is something like that. People didn't know. And they were just stunned. But when the movie got done, they were hooked. They were fully hooked. And I know for a fact that everyone who was in that theater that day is coming back to watch Dhurandhar 2. I'm one of them. Ranveer, Akshay, Baba, Madhavan, Arjun, all of them, solid performance. And I know that Arjun Rampa's performance, I know that the real performance is going to come in the second part. But here, the sheer menace that he exudes with, not much. He doesn't talk much. His body language, everything is minimal. But the sheer authority and menace he exudes, that's something. Akshay Khanna, I mean, we know he's a good actor, but yeah, during his time, he probably made some bad choices of movies and all that. But here, he's on top of his game. He's having a ball. He knows what his role is. But Ranveer. I have to say that man is a chameleon. What a performance! I mean, the thing is, because of his, his off-screen image, where he's monkeying around at, press meets and all,
Right,
we don't take him seriously enough as an actor. That is
right,
something
right.
I've always. But the guy, you give him any role, he's gonna give it his all. And this was one of those movies. Amazing, just amazing. And of course, my favorite thing, which I tweeted about, I think even you guys noted it. Two comedians from who are very popular on TV, Gaurav Gera and Rakesh Bedi Saab, cast against type and amazing performance.
They killed it.
I was like, in fact, I didn't know till I come home and check the credit. I didn't know that was Gaurav Gera. I'm like, wait, what? That was my first reaction. Anyway, so that's my take on the movie. Please.
Yeah, I absolutely liked Dhurandhar. I really liked the film. It worked on multiple levels for me. It worked as an espionage thriller. It worked as an actioner. You know what I said on Twitter when after I came back from the movie was that making a riveting 3.5 hour long movie ain't easy. And Aditya Dhar has made a damn good one. And in a way, I saw this as his Aditya's Munich, Spielberg's Munich. It feels like a movie, like a story that he had to tell about Pakistan-based terror. And now we have RGV who has been raving about it on X and talking about Dhurandhar as being a game changer and a quantum leap in cinema, both craft and story telling wise. And then we have Sid Anand, who called it the Nasha, I think, and said something to the effect that this is what you get when you have all the departments working at the utmost conviction. I think there is a trend here. Like a couple of days ago, Karan Johar joined the Dhurandhar standing. He said he absolutely loved it. And he said that it's the kind of film that holds a mirror to one's craft and forces you to step up your game. So I think it's pretty clear by now that this film just isn't a popular box office juggernaut. But in all probability, we're looking at a film that will prove to be a landmark for film audiences as well as filmmakers. Now what exactly is about this film that is drawing all this high praise? And I think there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's got a knockout soundtrack, kick-ass needle drops and reboots, the excellent sound design, which I was really drawn to. The way that the sound has been designed, the sound has been mixed, the sound editing, the way the visuals cut alongside the background score and the soundtrack. It's just amazing. I think that really makes it, one of the greatest theatrical experiences of 2025. And then, like you said, Vikram, it's a tremendous ensemble cast. Pretty much each and every actor is amazing in it. And
And I'd like to just say one thing. I noticed that there's been a lot of discourse about the movie, about its merits and demerits on social media. And just for the record, while I disagree with most of the reviews by certain mainstream critics, I am a little disappointed that they had to face so much trolling, so many nasty comments, etc. I mean, okay, they didn't like the movie. They may have made some personal attacks on the movie in their review, etc. That's fine. That's their job. That's their prerogative. As a responsible viewer, what I would prefer is argue with them based on the merits and demerits of the movie. Don't get personal. Don't make nasty comments. Don't and because I saw that one senior critic had to take her review down. Some other critics, they were literally pushed back to the wall and all that. And that's not. See, the problem is social media should be a democratic space for discourse on pop culture. That doesn't mean it reaches a lynch mob level of things. Anyway,
yeah, yeah,
so
absolutely.
that is just my
Absolutely.
opinion.
I mean, you can disagree with the critics and, everybody has their opinion. And there are a lot of critics who have loved the film. So, it's not like, everybody has been panning this film. And that's fine. I mean, everybody has their point of view. Everybody has their politics. Everybody has their slant. And like you said, there should be a healthy debate about it instead of, like kind of getting personal and all that. But getting back to the movie, besides the sound and the tremendous cast, the edgy, brutal action. I thought that the action in this kind of somehow, in spite of all the gore and in spite of all the violence, fits right in because it's a world that is very brutal. It's a world that is very violent. It's not a friendly place. It's essentially like a jungle. Where you are essentially surviving every day, and you got to look, behind your back. So, all that. The criticism about the violence in the film, I don't think that holds that much water. Because I think in a place like this is what you're going to see. You're going to see people who are barbaric. You're going to see people who are a bit cuckoo. I mean, they will kind of smash your head if they have anger management issues. This is not a brawl at your local bar. This is a pretty tough land. So I think the edgy, brutal action fits right in. And
I have to add.
yeah, go ahead.
I have to just add one point to that. You saw the trailer, so you knew what to expect. So you coming in, watching it, and then cribbing, say, "Oh, this is too violent." Was the what you see is what you get. Didn't you see the teaser? Didn't you see the trailer? Usme kafi. I mean, it promised that, so you are gonna get that. So I find that bit of discourse a little funny, but let's be honest. I'm kind of glad that the violence was so in your face. Imagine how brutal it would be if the violence was suggested. Like, for example, think about Thakur's hands being cut in Sholay or his family's massacre. We are not really shown anything, and it was so horrifying. So here, we are looking at things that are, you know, 10 times, 100 times worse. So imagine here, just the violence being suggested, how much more horrific would it be? So in a way, you got to be glad that, the violence is more in your face here.
Yeah, I'll hand it to Saurabh. I'll just say one more thing before this on Dhurandhar. That, it would be an understatement to say that making a riveting 3.5-hour long film is not easy. It just tells you how much work has gone into the script and the screenplay. God knows how many drafts and reiterations Dhar and his team did. And I think they deserve full credit for that. I mean, it's not easy to make such a film. And people, like you said, were not taking out their phones and they're watching it multiple times. So that's, again, a testament to the holding power of the film for 3.5 hours, which is not easy at all. We just saw that Avatar, a lot of people were struggling with the length, and, we're talking about a filmmaker like James Cameron. So if he's struggling with the length, you can imagine how tough it is to make a really lengthy film. So I think that again goes to Dhurandhar's credit. And there are a bunch of other things, that I liked about it. There's some similarities with Satya, which I tweeted out last week, And it's just the connect that this movie has had with audiences, not just in India or just the Indian diaspora. But look at the kind of reaction you're getting in Pakistan, right? Look at the kind of reaction you're getting in Europe, in Australia, here in North America. I mean, this is now what, the fifth week that the film is running, and it's still like fourth week. And it's crazy. I mean, the tickets, you get tickets, but, it's like the corner seats or, the front rows. So I haven't seen this kind of craze since, peak SRK, to be honest. I think last time I saw this was probably, I cannot even recall now. Because I don't think this was true. Maybe for Pathan, but I don't think I've seen this kind of stuff since then. I don't think this kind of craze was there, at least here, for Jawan. And definitely not for Animal. I mean, Animal was also very popular. But I think by its fourth week, it wasn't as popular as Dhurandhar is. So there is this connect, and I keep on, people keep on sending me these reaction videos. And most of these reaction videos are like, they just do it for the eyeballs or the hits. But some of these felt really genuine. Like yesterday, I uploaded a reaction video from a YouTube channel called Boston Boomer. So this is a boomer guy from Boston. And, he's like madly in love with this film. He has seen it twice. And he's saying that Akshay Khanna should get an Oscar and whatnot. So it's like crazy. I mean, how strong of a connect this movie's having with the audiences. Saurabh, your thoughts?
Yeah, before talking about Dhurandhar, I have a question, Himanshu. So you saw this movie in US. So
Yes.
did the Gali, the language, it was censored or?
No, that's a very interesting question. It wasn't censored at all. But you know what? Like I remember watching the teaser or the trailer. I think Sanjay Dutt, says like "मैं तुमको रणवा बना दूंगा" or something. That is still there. But then the khassi part has been changed to chakka for some reason. I don't know why, as if they thought that people won't get what khassi means in US.
Kasi actually means eunuch.
Yes,
People are saying
absolutely.
that the original was chakka.
Oh, really?
Original word
Okay,
was
okay. So
chakka.
the one that I
Referred to
saw
khassi.
was with chakka. Yes.
Interesting. So we are waiting for the Netflix. You guys are lucky.
Also,
We are waiting for the
you are
Netflix.
saying that the version in India was censored,
Yes, yes.
and what else was censored?
All the galis, all the
Really?
unparliamentary words. Yeah.
So, but did they at least take the names of the politicians and all those? Were they censored as well? Or?
Yeah, those were there, and some of the words were also there, cuss
Okay.
words, but the words MCBC were. Censored. So yeah, that's the thing. And yeah, I saw Dhurandhar, and Dhurandhar, more than story, I love the performance, the world building, the music, of course. I think everything you guys have told, so nothing to add. But the story was decent for me because this happens when you see a lot of movies. So when I was watching the film, a lot of movies came in my mind. Satya was one, like you tweeted about it, and the other was very obvious, like The Departed came to my
Oh
mind
yes,
while
yes, yes,
watching.
yes.
Departed came to my mind while watching the film. So yeah, the story wise it was decent, but performances, man, Akshay Khanna was like people are saying on social media, aura farming. So the man was aura farming the whole time in the film. And the music, it became so viral, Filparachi. So people have forgotten Jamal Kuru from Animal, and now they are vibing to uh, this song. And this song, I came to know later that the tune is it's like free for usage in internet. Like people are using it for background score. And
Yes, yes.
recently in this Netflix show, Single
Yeah,
Power,
yeah,
the
yeah.
background score was there.
Yeah. I think that hook is pretty much like a standard Shehnai hook, that
Yeah,
you
nice.
might hear at like events or public events or something, and they've just kind of sampled that and I think synthesized it. So but it's it's catchy as hell.
And one more thing I liked in this film was the every film becomes special. Every good film becomes special when the director's voice is visible. Like, like I said, like check out my wordplay. Like voice is visible. You see what I did? Yeah. So here, Aditya Dar's voice, his filmmaking voice was very evident, quite evident in the film. So that part was good. That's why I think people liked it. Like recently, even Sandeep Reddy Vanga was his film was polarized. His film has polarized opinions, but his voice was liked by people. Like that is unabashed and on your face. The same thing is with Aditya Dar also. And that throughout if you're saying that I didn't feel that it's a 3.5 hour film. That's because of his director's voice.
Correct. I agree. Yeah. Well, I think we have covered Dhurandhar pretty well here now, and I think we should move on. So, Saurabh, why don't you get us started on Pawn or Pawn Man? What is the right pronunciation?
It's actually a wordplay. It's
Right.
called
Old man, right?
Ponman. Ponman means kingfisher in
Oh, okay.
Malayalam. It's kingfisher's Malayalam is Ponman, and Ponman because gold man,
Right.
which goes with the story with the character. So Basil is Ponman in the film. So yeah, Ponman is one of my best, like one of my favorite film of this year because of the character played by Basil. That's the direct answer is that's the reason why I like the film because of the character PP Ajesh, I guess, because that never give up attitude of that character, and that character's attitude is that throughout the film, like
Yes.
there is no transformation. Like पहले मैं डरपोक था, like I was coward. Then in second half, like I'm like yeah, मर्द का हम Like in Hum, Amitabh Bachchan does that. The entire film, that attitude was there. So that's one thing I like, and the realistic portray of like in every Kerala's house, like in Kerala, this practice is there till now.
Right,
Like
I remember you were
giving,
telling me. Yes, yes.
yeah. There are other practices also when like dowry. Like if I have to, I need money for my sister's marriage, then I take dowry and like पहले मेरी शादी होगी and take that dowry and use that dowry money for my sister's marriage. That also happens. So this is like attached to this practice, the practice which I told, dowry system. So this gold loan practice also attached comes comes along with this practice.
Saurabh might remember a terrific or terrible movie called Bhagya Devata from 2008, I think. Jairam
Now
movie.
it's terrible. Later, at that time it was a successful film. Now it didn't age well. So yeah,
You know,
the
like,
Ponman is reply to that film, I guess.
yes, yes.
And Ponman is based on a novel. So that novel's name is Naal Cherpakar. Naal Cherpakar means four youngsters. So that is based on that book. And the writer, I forgot his name. The person who wrote the book, he is one of the screenplay writers also, co-written the film. One more thing about the attitude of the character. So the character has this attitude of never giving up. But as I told that the film is realistic, there's a particular scene where this character is giving motivation to a person who just tried to commit suicide. And he tells that, be like me, man, like never give up. I'm like PP Ajesh, man. And next to that, cut to that scene, his boss or boss's son comes
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
and he knocks the door and he opens and he gets a slap, he gets a whack. So that's a reality check. Like I am telling this, but my life is not that easy. That's the portrait of it. So I love that scene, and that girl's performance is also superb in the film.
Absolutely.
Nijamol
And the
Jyoti.
clim- and the climax. If you see the climax, the last shot, it's like a marching movement for Basil. Like he's in that full drenched in mud and he has that gold with him. It's like that victory. Love that. Yeah.
I was kind of, I don't know why, but for some reason, the last act, I was reminded of Apna Ayappanum Koshiyum, of course. But I'm not saying it's the same, but I'm saying वो climax में, when they start fighting each other and all the everything happens, my mind immediately
Yeah.
went back to that. Even there, it was somewhat similar, except I think here, mo- uh, for Sajin Gopu's character was Mariano. It's more of ego. But for this guy, it's not about ego. For him, more than ego, it's about his self-respect. And there's also this desperation because if you remember, there is one scene where we come to know where PP Ajesh comes from, his circumstances, like what is the current halat of his life. I'm not going to say more because it would be like a spoiler for those who haven't. But I found all that very. I mean, those are all very nice touches I found in the movie personally. But I have to
And,
say, I'm really. Uh, yeah, go on, go on. Yeah,
no,
please go on.
no, I was telling in the set that climax setup is also superb. Like uh, prawns, like shrimp farming
Yeah,
and all, which is very new.
but I have
And you
to
were
say,
saying,
I'm really impressed with. I'm
yeah,
really impressed with Basil here. Like he is. I mean, I know that. I think he very sarcastically mentioned it in one of the round tables that he only acts because direction doesn't pay him enough. But
No, he's
I
a
like
great actor.
he's doing these hatke role, like he did this movie, then he did Sukshma Darshini, which is, I mean, it's not in our list, but again, one more fantastic movie. Then last year, Jai 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 He and all.
Love that movie.
I mean, I remember seeing this guy from Jane Man, and I remember I found him bloody annoying in it because of that laugh. But since then, I've come to respect this guy because of he goes all in for every movie. His performance, he doesn't half-ass it. And as Saurabh mentioned, Lijomol Jose, she's top class. It's a shame that, I mean, she was there in JB. I mean, people would have seen her in JB, and she did this very interesting movie. It's there on Prime. Watch it if you guys get time. It's called Gentlewoman. I won't say anything about the plot. Just watch it for her. That's it. She's a class actress, and I really hope that she gets more roles because I know for some reason she doesn't seem to get too many leading woman roles, but she's She's a class act. Yeah. Anyway, yeah,
And
Saurabh.
she was in this film also, Mahesh and the Pradhigaran. And there is one more reason to mention Mahesh and the Pradhigaram, because Mahesh and the Pradhigaram happens in Idiki.
That's the
So when
Fafa
the
film,
film
right?
starts, that's the Fafa picture. First part is this. So Mahesh and the Pradhigaram starts. So the film is happening in Idiki. So the film starts with Idiki's backdrop, and the song itself is about Idiki. So likewise, in Ponman, the film starts. The film is happening in Kollam, in Kerala. So the film starts with Kollam's background, and the song itself is talking about all the places of Kollam. So you are in the world, like the audience like gets into the world. That's also a big thing in the film.
Yeah, I loved Ponman too. And like you said, Saurabh, right now that the location is a character in that film, I think. It's, one of the things that comes across is Mariano is supposed to be somebody that you don't mess with because he comes from that part of the region, where water, has essentially made life tough. And so he happens to hail from that region. So the location is a character. And I love these kind of, small tidbits. And it's just great. I mean, at the surface, it's essentially commentary against dowry, right? And it's about our unhealthy obsession with this precious metal called gold, quote unquote. But the story is more about, it's an exploration of the people, made of flesh and bones, who are affected by this obsession of ours with this metal. And like you guys said, Basil as the jewelry syndicate agent with a drinking problem is excellent as always. I love how at the very last moment, always, he's keen about what kind of alcohol they're getting. He has to specify that, it needs to be a certain grade, it has to pass a certain threshold. So I thought that was very nicely done. And one more thing that the movie really does well, in my opinion, is that it shows how each person is reacting based on their own personal situation, right? Because everybody is acting from their vantage point, from their vested interest. And it's like there are no like blacks and whites. It's all gray, right? There are no like heroes or villains. And it's very revealing of basic human nature, right? That's what it is. Like, for example, you might judge a person solely on the experience that you have had with that person. But some other person might think, exactly opposite because they have had a very different experience with that person based on their history. So I think that's, Poneman does these little things really well. And I think that's why it's a very good film in the sense that it shows, it reveals human nature, like I said, but it does these little things through that screenplay, that really makes you think, about, what the kind of relationships that you have, or, you have seen this in your life. And the plot of the film just happens to be, something that this story is about, but it's something that everybody can relate to. I mean, even if you haven't been in a situation like this, I think you will relate to it. So it's a great film, and Basil, I just it's tremendous. And I love the guy who played Mariano too. I mean, he's such a good actor. What's his name again, guys? Please refresh my memory.
Sajan Gopu.
Yes, I love that guy. I think he was great. All of the cast was great, by the way.
One more thing about this film, I like the chemistry between uh, the Basil and the girl. What her name? Uh, this girl,
Steffi.
Steffi.
Sajan Gopu. Steffi, yeah, Steffi's character. But the chemistry between them, because later in the film they empathize with each other. Both has this empathy towards each other, which was not done during the first half.
That's because if you
So
see,
that
both
also,
of them are sort of stuck in the situation. They are like a victim of their circumstances. So the empathy between them is a lot more, pronounced here. And
yeah,
then he
that's
offers a way
portrayed
out of that.
beautifully.
Yeah.
So I think the next movie is Homebound, and as everybody knows, this is a movie that has been now shortlisted for Best International Feature at the Oscars. Fingers crossed that it makes the final nomination list. I really loved Homebound, and before I talk more about the movie, I just want to say that two people that I'm really happy for. One is Ishan Khattar because I think he's a great actor. And he hasn't received, great shows or films. I think his debut film was quite good. But, after that, he has always been good in whatever he has done. And so I'm really happy that, he's getting such a high profile film. And of course, Gaywan, who's just a great storyteller, and this is only his second feature film. So I hope that, this film allows him to make films more often and allows him to make bigger films. But more about the movie, I really loved Homebound. It's a deeply emotional film. It's about caste, social disadvantage, dignity, and all those issues. But it's done in such a non-didactic way, and which is what I like about Gewat. He has a lot to say, and he says it nicely, but he never uses a sledgehammer. He's always nuanced about it. And I like that kind of messaging. I think that kind of messaging resonates with everybody. And that's the kind of messaging you want when you're sending a film, to festivals, or you're sending this film to international audiences, because that sledgehammer approach is not going to work with them. You want somebody who can put nuance into it. So that's one thing about the film that I loved. And, there are many nice moments in it. One of my favorite scenes is when Vishal Jetwa says that, when I say my name, people look down on me. And when I hide my name, I look down on myself. And those are very loaded lines. But again, it's delivered in such a nuanced way that it really connects and it really tugs at your heart, because it tells you what, for some of us who come from privileged background, it tells you, what kind of inner turmoil someone like him might be going through. That's as close that we are going to get to what they're feeling from inside, right? So I think that was one of the great moments in the film. And there's a lot to rave in Homebound, but like I tweeted when I watched the movie, I think the best compliment that I can give this movie is that in some moments it reminded me of Shyam Benegal, in Stone. And then in some other moments, it reminded me of Saeed Akhtar Mirza in its tenor. So, when a movie reminds you of such stalwarts and the great movies that they made, definitely it's a great film. One another aspect about this movie which is unsettling is because, it kind of brings back the horrors of COVID times, right? So you get to relive all the horrors that all of us had to go through, and some more than others. So, Homebound can be a difficult watch, but I think it's a deeply emotional film, and I highly recommend to anybody, if in case you haven't yet seen it, please do watch it and do tell your friends about it, and do tell your non-Indian friends about it as well. And I'm really hoping that this makes the nominations. So after that, you never know, because it's quite a tough field this year, by the way, because there are quite a few really good films. But I'm just hoping that it gets in that nomination list.
For me, I think one true, what you'd say an affecting scene for me was what Ishan Khattar faces at his character Shoaib faces at work. The microaggressions, the taunts about his identity and all. And I think, yeah, I mean, it holds up I think why a lot of people find Homebound a very uncomfortable watch is because it holds up a mirror to, a lot of the shit that happens in society, in a so-called civilized society, etc. And I think Gavan's done a pretty good job by being unflinching in that regard. He doesn't sugarcoat it. That's what I respect about the guy. And I think Homebound on the whole is an important film. This is also a movie that people need to watch. People need to watch it just to understand that the world is not the
Correct.
cocoon they live in.
Right.
It's not life isn't as easy for everyone. I mean, again, like as Himanshu said, during COVID, for all the horrors, we were all safely sheltered in our homes. We had our guys from Swiggy, Zomato delivering food for us. We didn't really need to worry about much. But the guys out there on the streets, it was a totally different time for them. I don't think these are horrors that can only be imagined, because I don't think a lot of us would have the inner strength to bear it and come out smiling. And I think Homebound is a good, what do you say, introduction to what the other side faced. And I'm glad that, something like that came out. That's all I have to say about it.
This film, Homebound, is based on a New York Times article, I guess. Uh, uh,
Yes.
Friendship, pandemic, and death beside the road, I guess the article's name. And one more interesting thing is a trivia that Shahid Kapoor's movie Heather was based on Hamlet, but it was partially based on Bashrat Peer's
Bashar Peers. Yeah.
Cur-
Yes.
Curfew Night.
Yes.
And this is also based on the Bashrat Peer's article. So both the brothers are lucky that they got a writer like who justified their acting talent maybe or explored their acting talent. So yeah, Neeraj Gaiwan is one of my favorite filmmakers. Matan is uh, is one of my favorite film, and it's one of the best Hindi films came out in recent times, like 10 years in these 10 years. And the realism in his films are very subtle, and these films, as like Vikram said that no, I think you said Manshu that it reminded you of the Shyam Benegal's movie. So this movie actually reminded me of those NFDC movies which used to be shown in
Absolutely. Yeah.
Doordarshan 4 o'clock p.m. This movie reminded me of that, and I loved Vishal Jaitwal's performance. His performance is one of the best in the film. Like he he was like Ishan Khattar also performed well, but I think this guy was one bit like notch up comparing to Ishan Khattar's performance because his eyes is so captivating. Even in Mardani too, his facial expressions, his eyes were speaking. He can like if he if his performance is getting better and better in every film, I think his eyes will be also talk like we are talking about Fahad Fasil's eyes or Irfan Khan's eyes. I think Vishal Jaitwal's eyes also will get a separate think piece article maybe in future.
Right.
I'd also like to
Yeah,
bring up Shalini. I'd like to bring up Shalini Vatsa.
Yes.
She's,
yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know how she does it, but it's like every movie I see her, like she's a force of nature. And even in this movie,
No matter how small the role is. Yeah.
she always makes an impact. She always makes an, even in this top class, really.
Shalini Vatta is the one who's playing his mother, right? Vishal Jaitwal's mother.
Right.
Yeah, so he was in Dharak too also. She was brilliant in that film also. We'll talk about that film also. And one more point I was about to say that even Matan has this literature connect, like Dushan Singh's poetry and all were there in the film. Likewise, in this film, Chandan, the character's name is Chandan and Sudha, which is based on a Hindi novel, based on the Hindi novel character, Gunaon Ka Devta. So there, Chandan Sudha is there. I think it's a tribute to that book. And Janvi Kapoor, should I be honest or be diplomatic
No, no, please be
about
honest.
Janvi
Please be
Kapoor?
honest. This is an honest podcast, so please be honest.
Janvi Kapoor, not her performance. Janvi Kapoor felt like Ilaichi in biryani. In this
Elaborate more
film,
on that, Saurabh. So,
so in this film, I think she was out of place. Some other other newcomer or less known
yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
actress would have. I think to make it more commercially viable, they casted her.
Probably.
But I think she was a little bit out of place. Like
Okay.
how you felt about the climax?
I liked it. I liked it. I just thought that the final few minutes were a little rushed. That's one criticism I have about the film. But overall, it's such a powerful film that I think that little bit can be overlooked. And just one more thing I want to add, really, before we move on. We got to start moving. We have so many movies to cover. But there is one thing about Gaiwan which always, comes across that, he has only made 2 feature films. He has made some short stories. And he's always tackling these, important issues. And he, like I said, he has a voice. He wants to say important things. But everything that he does is beautiful to look at. He does it with a certain aesthetic. And again, I think that's what reminds me of Shyam Benegal. Shyam Benegal never did like huge, sets or anything like that. But his movies are beautiful to look at. Maybe it's the nature, maybe it's just the setting, maybe it's just the way that the shots have been framed. But they were always beautiful to look at. And I think that's another aspect that, Game One kind of shares with Benelo. But I just wanted to put that out. But guys, let's move on to one of the other great pictures of this year. And that's Kantara, Chapter 1. The follow-up, or rather the prequel, I should say, right, to the first film. I think, Kantara Chapter 1 is a magnificent picture. I was just overawed, overwhelmed with this film. I watched it in the cinemas. And after watching it, I was just in sheer awe of the passion and the heart that Rishabh Shetty has put into this. And that really resonates with me. He goes all in, again, has this conviction, just like Aditya Dhar. He and I think Saurabh was mentioning having a voice, right? A directorial voice. So he certainly has a storytelling voice. And the storytelling had me speechless. I saw many people drawing comparisons with Kurosawa and Rajamouli. And, I can see where that is coming from because this is like top drawer homegrown cinema. It's in a similar space. I mean, they all obviously have different styles, but it's in the similar space. And I thought this particular movie was more visceral than the first one. Also, another thing that I think maybe people who did not connect with this movie could, think about is that, I think this is the kind of movie that works on a totally different level if you belong to that region or are familiar with the cultural history and the heritage of that region. And I think Vikram will be able to add more on this later. But, my mother-in-law grew up in a small town near Mangalore. And I've been there. I've visited that town a few times and I've seen the booth core there. And it is truly a tremendous experience. It's something that you will never forget, And I think Rishabh Shetty obviously is, from that region. So I think his passion and his love for that really comes through. So this was a tremendous cinematic experience for me.
Yeah. So as you said, I'll be honest. I preferred the first part. I mean, I felt. I mean, I don't know because that worked more for me. This part, I mean, Kantara Chapter 1, I'll tell you my main issue with it. You may disagree, but I felt the first half, it meandered too much. The whole random comic subplots and all that. I feel like, because see, Rishabh in all his interviews, if you guys watched any of his interviews in the run up to the release, he kept saying one thing. There are so many stories in that well that I can probably make more Kantaras just out of them. There is a well, there are stories in it, and what I personally felt is I wish he'd gone deeper into the lore rather than playing to the gallery. I see now. I won't deny it. For example, that chariot sequence, that massive chariot chase, whatever sequence, it it took me back to my childhood when I used to read these Asterix and Obelix comics. It was straight out of that, and I enjoyed it. It looked spectacular, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
But throughout the first half, I found myself just thinking to myself, can he just get to the point? Can we get to the main story? Can we get to the meat? Because that's what I want. And yeah, the second half, yes, it's spectacular, all the set pieces, everything. And I have to say, he got it right with the casting. Gulshan Devaya is seriously insane, man. I mean, that guy, again, he's having a great year with
Yes.
this and with that web series on YouTube. I'm sorry, the name escapes me right now, but he's done a good job in it. And Rukmini Vasant, of course, she's also become the so-called national crush. I find it silly because she's a fantastic actress. I mean, she's someone who I've been watching since Perfect Family. Thank you, Saurabh. So Rukmini Vasant, I've been watching her since she made a debut in a movie in 2019 called Birbal Chapter 1, which was a remake of a Korean movie called New Trial, and she was quite good in it. But when I watched her in Saptasagara the Ache SSE Side A and Side B, I was zapped at, the kind of conviction, the kind of depth she brought to her performance. She's a standard girl next door. She suddenly faces this huge trauma in her life where she loses the love of her life, and how she sort of compromised with life and moves on, because she knows that you can't stop living. But even the life that she's living doesn't seem to have meaning. I mean, she goes from, a cheerful, happy singer to, a dull housewife, and the way she performed or something. So even here, she's brilliant. And I mean, I was a little surprised. I mean, I hadn't read the spoilers, so I went in watching, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what her character does in the second half. Huh? I was really impressed. Jairam, of course, he's a veteran, so he's as dependable as ever. And Rishabh's usual gang of actors are all there, and they all do a good job. As I said, the second half is fantastic, but I feel if the first half had focused more on the plot rather than all these bells and whistles, I think it would have been a far superior movie. However, I'm glad that the I'm glad that the movie is done well. I'm glad that it found a love, and I'm glad that a part of the culture from the area that I come from. I'm glad to see it, get a lot more prominence. I'm glad to see it, become part of discourse. Although I would hope that people wouldn't make fun of certain things like that the yell that the bhuta lets out and all. But it's okay. I mean, I think it comes with the territory. Anything becomes mainstream, there are always people who'll mock it. So can't really do much about it. But yeah, Kantara chapter 1. Now I'm curious to see what Rishabh does next. I wonder if he will ever come back to this set of stories again. But if he does, I hope he focuses on the story and less on other stuff. Yeah.
Just one more thing, Saurabh, I'll add before I give it to you on Kantara again. Is I loved how the VFX have been done. They are non-library effects. Usually in Indian movies, you see a lot of library effects, like it comes from the Marvel library or something. And this is very much in line with Rajamouli. He does the effects that his story needs, not what's available in the library. So I think credit to Rishabh Shetty for that. And another one little thing is that, the attention to detail. And, a lot of people who are not that familiar with the mythology or the legends might miss, these kind of little details. But that Brahma Rakshas scene, right, when Rishabh first sees him in that cave, he has a strand of hair in his hand. Now, I don't know how many people know about this, but there is a legend to it. It's essentially the Brahma Rakshas always needed something to do. Otherwise, they would get destructive or, they had too much energy. So this one queen came up with this idea of asking him to straighten a strand of hair, and obviously, he will never be able to do it. And she told him that you cannot break it. You have to straighten it. And so he keeps on working on it, for years and years because it's never going to straighten out. So that's what we see when the first glimpse of Brahma Rakshas that we see in the cave. So he has done all these little things, and attention to detail is great. So I thought, that Rishabh did really well.
And that tiger sequence was also like very
Oh,
nice.
yeah, that was awesome, man. Yeah. Awesome. I think the VFX he really nailed in this movie. I loved the VFX.
See, the tiger sequence blew my mind, man. I missed it watching it in theater. And to be honest, for this, you guys don't judge me, but I watched this film just to discuss in this podcast. Before that, I haven't seen the first part also.
You're kidding me. The first part is really good too.
Yeah, so I saw the first part and this both simultaneously. So yes, Kantara chapter 1 didn't work for me much because of the inconsistency, as like Vikram also mentioned. About this. The film like it meanders and doesn't come to the point, and the story is like scattered. Well, most of the scenes goes like waste a lot of time in humor, and those humor doesn't work also.
See,
Those
it's a very
performances.
local humor. See, I'll be honest with you. See, even in Kantara, the first part, which came out 3 years back and all, it's a very local humor. So
Right.
if you're from Mangalore, you'll probably find a lot. It's basically banter between people, and so you'll find it silly. You'll laugh at it, but you can't expect people everywhere to find that funny. So instead of focusing on that, instead of having all that silliness, if he'd gone a little deeper into the, as I said, into the legends and all, I think, or if he could have trimmed it out and made a slightly shorter film also, I don't think it would have affected it too much. That's what I personally feel.
Yeah, I'm sure some of it is
Because,
lost in the subtitling or in the Hindi, dub. But
see, I watched it in Kannada. So the thing
Kannada,
is,
yes.
uh, a lot of the humor is directly translated from Tulu. Tulu
Right,
is the local language that's
right.
spoken here. And also, what happens is Tulu to Kannada, it sort of makes sense. But see, it's a very fast-paced humor. It's silly stuff. It's basically people just joking around with each other. Stuff that you'd laugh about over a drink or something. But it doesn't necessarily translate to broad humor that we'd laugh at while watching in a movie. That is the main my complaint. But again, see, the thing is, when something with this much effort and all comes out, I try not to nitpick. But sometimes stuff like this, it does annoy you because see, Rishabh is a fantastic filmmaker, no doubt about it. But I think he needs to have more confidence in his actual story and not rely upon the general commercial elements. All the kya bolte hain. You don't need to sprinkle dhania and pudina on everything. Just let the story flow. Let the story flow. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so I will summarize what I said. The overall, the spectacular, the entire making was quite spectacular and sumptuous. And but the writing part was a bit dull. The performances were also good. Gulshan Deva was the best thing in the film. I loved his performance, like drunk king prince. So that was good. And Rukmani was also performance was also good. I love Jairam also. I think Jairam
Everybody was good.
better than his acting was tapped well by the Kannada filmmaker more than Tamil filmmakers because they made him like a joker after Punyan Selvan. Like always he does this goofy characters after that film. So here is his performance like he's actually he's a good actor, great actor. So I think he should get more Kannada movies after this. And yeah, the first Kantara was better compared.
Moving on to Super Boys of Malegaon. Who wants to go first?
So I love this thing. It's not a genre, but films about films. I always love this film. I love this concept, even in web series or in movies. So that's why I was excited for this movie because it was based on a documentary, and that documentary is one of my favorite documentaries, Superman of Malika. I've seen that 2-3 times during lockdown. And there's a YouTube channel. So in that YouTube channel, Varun Grover. So there's a YouTube channel called Chalchitra Talk. So in that Varun Grover, that channel used to recommend films. So Varun Grover was in one of the episodes, and he said that you should watch this documentary called Superman of Malegaon. Later on, he is the writer of this film. I love both the documentary and this film. This is one of my favorite of 2025 because of that passion of a person to make a film. Like whatever the circumstances, whatever the budget is, I just need a can. Like every filmmaker say that. Anyone in interviews when they ask these filmmakers that what's your suggestion for the filmmaker for the upcoming young filmmaker, so they always tell that take a camera and shoot. So this guy Nasir Sheikh, I think his name is, he literally like took that seriously and he made it. And watching the film, you will understand the magic of cinema. There's a particular scene where he is sitting with his girlfriend and watching a Bruce Lee film.
Great scene. Yeah.
So, so our character says that उसकी तो मर गया ना. So he says कहाँ मरा? Because action कर रहा है screen पे. So that's the magic of cinema. Like cinema makes every person, every artist, every art form alive. Like they are like eternal. And that goes with the other character also. He also dies in the end. His friend, Nasir's friend, who becomes Superman in that film. So he is also like that. Like you can see him in like every time
Correct.
seeing him
Right.
on the screen,
Same
and
thing.
he's alive. That's so beautiful. Yeah, and writer baap hota hai.
Writer walk hota hai. Absolutely. Yeah, I loved Superboys of Malegaon too. People kept on saying that it's a love letter to cinema, and I saw it more as a love letter to the love of cinema. It's a love letter for the passion for cinema. And, I don't just say it because that's my handle, but it's a love letter for the love for cinema, I should say. And at the same time, it's an ode to Jugaad, right? The great Indian tradition of hustling. Because resources should not, limit your ambitions. So that's what Jugaad is all about. So I think it's an ode to that as well. And it's just like, these scenes that, had me very early on in the movie. Nasir gets his pictures done as Tiger from Hum. So, I'm a sucker for those kind of things. And then there's that great, old school heart-wrenching moment where Shashank Arora kind of salutes, the film while watching the theater. In the theater. So these are great films. This film is Diljit Liya's film. Next is Chhaava. So Chhaava was one of the bigger hits of this year. Personally, I thought Vicky was terrific in this film. And what I was impressed with was how he got down, his Marathi pronunciation and diction. So, which was quite impressive for me. Want to talk about just really quickly about the third act of Chhaava, which is extraordinary, I thought. Especially the final battle scene, which for once feels like an actual 17th century combat. It's not like it hasn't been done like, some modern combat or modern warfare. It's essentially a stampede of two armed groups, right? Which is what used to happen in the old times. It's chaotic, it's under choreographed. And it's overwhelming. So I really loved that aspect of it. And I also liked, what director Lakshman Utekar did with the torture scenes, with the physical depiction of Aurangzeb during the torture of Sambhaji. I thought that, so here's the scene. I mean, we see Sambhaji is being tortured to death. And while Aurangzeb is being visibly tortured from the inside, due to Sambhaji's resistance. So it's just something interesting that he's doing as a device. And we never see, Sambhaji's eyes are gouged, with hot iron rods, and we never see his gouged eyes. But we do see Aurangzeb's dead eyes, So again, this is it's an interesting device at play here. The effect of torture on the victim isn't shown. But what is shown instead is the torture's grave effect on the inflictor. So I thought, this whole torture scene was really nicely done. And I really liked that. And then I loved the music. A lot of people didn't like Rahman's music and they thought, maybe Ajay Atul would have been a better choice, given that it's a Maharashtrian, setting. But I thought Rahman did a great job. And I thought his score had that, pulsating, galvanizing, element to it that really kind of elevates the action sequences, especially. So that's all I have to say about Chhaava. I really enjoyed the third act, and I thought Vicky Kaushal was terrific.
Yeah, and in the third act, the conversation between these two, the
Vinit Kumar and yeah.
Which has Kavi Raj, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Vinit Kumar, again, is excellent as always.
And they shared this poem. That was very impactful. Got goosebumps.
That connects. Yeah, I think a lot of people love that. Yeah.
I love that performance and the thing. But the entire film, it was, I think it was like, there was a sense of urgency to come to the third act. The entire film, I felt that it was like the climax was the main part of the film, and they just wanted to come to that third act. The entire writing was like that. That's why there was a sense of urgency, and many characters were not pitched well. Those characters were interesting, but it didn't have that kind of closure to the characters. For example, Divya Datta's character.
Yes,
I felt her character was interesting. They should have explored both.
That is a very interesting character in history. I mean, so it's there have been novels written about it. I think a lot of this was again a very long movie, and I think they had to edit it quite ruthlessly, probably. So probably they had to do with that. But yeah, like you said, the strong point of the movie is the third act.
Third act, yes. And the performances again this year is all.
This year is all about performances. You said it, yeah.
Yeah, Vicky was brilliant. Vicky was literally star. When he his entry itself is like it gives you it makes you charged up, like,
Yeah, yeah.
watching him.
I think he really internalized that role. I think he was working on it for months, he said. I watched an interview of his, and I think he really internalized it. And he, I think, read a lot. They were working on his not just knowledge about the history, but just awareness about the area and the culture and that particular era. So I think, and he was able to internalize all that. So yeah, the credit to him.
And Akshay Khanna, as always, he was
Akshay
also
Khanna was
great
great
in
as
this.
Aurangzeb, absolutely. Now, it looks like, people have almost forgotten about that performance because, this little film that we talked about at the beginning. So, it's Dhurandhar is just like this monster that's like mushrooming everything else. But yeah, Akshay Khanna was great in that film as well.
That shows his versatility also. Like, a man did a film like Shava and then Durandar. Like you can't. All due respect to Ranbir Kapoor, but when we saw Animal, it reminded you of Sanju, like a bit at least. But here it's like character, the characterization, the performance, everything is like switch on, like switch off.
Very different
It's
performances.
like
Yes,
very different.
absolutely. Hallmark of a good actor.
What about Rashmika? What about Rashmika's performance?
Again, so I'm not a big fan of Rashmika, but I didn't think she was that bad as it was made out to be again, just like Rahman's music. I didn't think it was that bad. So I just recently saw that film that you guys recommended, Girlfriend, in which she was quite good. I thought, but in this it's okay. I mean, again, her role I thought was heavily edited, probably in post. So because of the length of the film, but yeah, she was okay.
Same here. I also didn't feel her performance. Didn't feel that her performance was bad in this film. She was good in this one. She like the effort is there. If effort is seen, like she took some effort. But I think she has this like what you call notoriety for her accent, Hindi accent and all. And here you have that. You should have that Marathi accent also while uh, uttering the dialogue. I think that's why people criticize it. And after Chava, Sikandar came also. That also garnished her reputation, garnishing her. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. A few years back, I wouldn't have thought that, any movie covering Mangalore and its surroundings would, get famous. And here we have in the same year two movies. One is Kantara, which we've already discussed, and now there's Supram. Supram So is easily one of my favorite movies of the year. I mean, I'm not saying, the movie definitely has a few issues. Like, I felt, again, the first 20 minutes, there's a lot of world building, it takes us through all the different eccentrics in the village and everything. But once it gets to the actual story, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I haven't laughed so much. And again, this is the humor that I was telling you about. See, Mangalorean humor is very fast paced. It's mostly banter. It's not, observational or something. Like, it's basically, rapid fire talks. Like, you'll say something to me, I'll say something to Saurabh. He'll make a joke on me, I'll make a joke on him. It's basically that. It's like a roast. It's basically people roasting each other. But not out of malice or anything, but more of good natured ripping, and that's where the humor is. So you watch this in Kannada or some. You watch this in Kannada, since Kannada is pretty close to Tulu, and people speak both languages here. The humor translates. This is why the movie works. A lot of people ended up telling me that Supram So reminded them of these Malayalam village comedies from the 80s and all these very low profile comedy. And I said, yeah, I mean. It is, this is all on the coast. So, the culture, etc., is very similar. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I like how, the movie takes its time. It shows, each and every person in the village. There's the great Ravi Anna. He's the big man around
Yeah,
town.
loved him.
Then
Yeah.
then there's the naughty Ashoka, who we know as a big turkey. But then this is one. I like the what is the social commentary in the movie as well, where he's this typical boy next door who's obsessed with women and all. But then when he actually ends up seeing firsthand what unwanted attention does to a woman, he sort of starts empathizing with him, like how he starts empathizing with Bhanu's character first and decides, okay, I'm gonna go out and do something to help her. And then, he actually starts playing her mother and, everything. That was really nice. And I liked how, Bhanu and Ravi and, they are connected in one way, and then, it comes full circle in the end. I really liked it. I would like to, I don't want to see more on it because I want people to actually watch this movie and understand that. And of course, the regular bunch of, usual suspects who are there in all Raj B. Shetty movies and Rishabh Shetty movies. So, to sum it up, is the perfect comfort watch. You will laugh. You will laugh a lot. That is all I will say about it. And it is truly impressive that a movie like this, which was made on a budget of what, 5.5 crores, it goes on to make 125 crores. It's insane, man.
Amazing. Yeah.
Crazy. It's amazing. And uh, I think one of my favorite characters in the movie is the drunk Baba. And I love how every time he shows up at the same thing, that music playing, and he comes waving to everyone as if he's some. The first time you see him, you really think he's some very popular character, and then you see everybody like, oh God, not this guy. And the thing is, if you've been to functions in Mangalore, you see such all these characters who they show. There's a bunch of guys who will go sit in the bar next to the wedding venue or somewhere nearby. They'll come by, and it's a thing, like the big man, when he comes on stage, everybody gets really excited to click a photo that he's come attended the wedding, etc. So many small touches of Mangalorean life is covered in this, and that is what worked. Basically, it is authentic. That is what worked for me. It felt like I'm watching things around me. So that's about it. I would recommend everyone. It's a simple movie. It's a sweet movie. Support it. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought this is a great triumph of like just solid rooted storytelling. Like you said, that's why I think it feels authentic. And I can only imagine what kind of a theatrical experience it must be in Bangalore. People must have gone crazy. And, it reminded me of Priyadarshan style in a way, because it's like it starts out with a single misunderstanding that kind of ends up creating a big ruckus in the end, right? So I thought it reminded me of that. And I'll just quickly add one more thing that, there is this scene where, Ravi Anna is being beaten and almost the entire town kind of, charges to, help him out. And, I wanted to, like, I was like, yeah, let's go, that kind of feeling. And when a movie does that to you, you're completely connected with the characters. You're completely connected with the writing. You know that
And
you're into the movie.
just so you know, the actor who plays Ravi and Anil Gautam, he is also one of the writers of Kantara and Kantara Chapter 1. He is part of Rishabh's writing team. And even this JP Tuminad who plays Ashoka, the guy who gets possessed, and Prakash Tuminad who plays one of the gang, all these guys are part of the Kantara series, etc. And and one thing, even I like one thing about Ravi Anna's character, like no matter what the situation, he's somehow at the center of it. Even though he's not doing anything, he's like just sitting by, or he's just standing there with one hand behind his back. You sort of know that okay, he's the what do you say? He's the man that the village gravitates towards, no matter what the situation is. And in terms of humor, I kept finding this one situation funny where the retired bank officer at every meeting, he starts talking about the committee of 1985 and it gets interrupted every time.
And that is again so true. I mean, I'm not from Bangalore, but I can totally see like that happening in a place like Pune or somewhere. There's this one guy always, who likes to go grand, who likes to go like eloquent during like the smallest of the events. He will like, bring up like history from like 16th century or something for an event that is like a local event in your lane or something like that.
Yeah, everyone is saying that this film, every Malayali is saying that this film reminds of those Malayalam, those old 90s Malayalam village comedies and all. But this film actually reminded me of Malgudi days.
Acha.
Yeah.
Yeah, the characters, some of the characters are like that. Yeah.
Yeah, characters. And I loved Ravi Anna and that lady's love story. I think that should have a separate like spin-off or something.
That was a nice emotional touch. Yeah.
And
There's one hit.
that
There's one hit in the end that I particularly like. This is sort of like a post credit sequence they show, right? They go to the temple and he's about to write something, and she's like, "Should I write?" And he sweetly asks, "Oh, you know to write," and she just gives him that look. It's such a sweet touch. Like uh, it's like they've known each other, but they still are learning stuff about each other. I found that very sweet. Yeah.
So have you guys seen Ustad Hotel?
Of course, yeah.
Dulquer sir. So in Ustad Hotel, there is a particular scene where Dulquer Sarman and Nitya Menon, Nitya Menon is wearing burqa, and they ask for a lift, and a truck driver comes. Before that, there's an like I think this guy Dulquer wears that burqa, and he's talking to Nitya Menon that you girls are so good, like girls are so easy, like people always be sweet to you, and something he says. I don't remember exactly. And then this guy Dulquer wears the burqa and sits on that truck, and the truck driver is driving the truck, and this guy is touching Dulquer, thinking that he's a woman. And then he realizes that it's not difficult to be a woman. And this same thing is there, the same theme is there in Two from So, where he first he enjoys being Kalpana the ghost, and then he realizes that it's not like it's so difficult, like that that thing, that stereotype, and that notion. So that reminded me of this theme in Ustad.
Okay, guys, let's move on. Saurabh, why don't you open Bad Girl?
Bad Girl is one of the interesting film of this year. I never thought that this film will be so interesting. Because this film had a lot of hatred after watching the trailer. Like people criticized the trailer, it was banned or something. Some controversy happened. So I was eager to watch it because the producers were Vetrimaran and Anurag Kashyap. I wanted to watch. Uh, and Yeah, man, the coming of age thing is fine. But what I liked is the chemistry between the protagonist and mother. And mother is, I saw her last in Ikepika in the Sogan with Akshay Kumar. She was, she was so brilliant in the film. And like, her character, easily you will sympathize with her. Like the audience will have kind of empathy towards her character. That when her mother accuses that like because of your lad and pyar she got spoiled or something, like you are not a good mother or something, she says, and her expression that easily gets connected with the audience, like. And the second thing is when she is talking with the counselor, and whenever she expresses something in the film or in the particular scene, you will see her close-ups, so you can like you can understand what's happening in her mind. And the third favorite scene in the film is when the grandmother is dead, and the protagonist, she is talking about her, and then she cries. That was also touching. So these three things were uh, are the standout in the film. And one more great thing about this film is, like, again, I always give examples of other films. So in Dil Chahta Hai, there is Akash, Amir. So Amir's character is vibrant, and then this guy Saif Ali Khan is a bit melodramatic, goofy but melodramatic, and third Akshay Khanna mature. Likewise, in this film, the film also has this three structure. One is the school life, vibrant, yeah, and the second is college, like full melodramatic, and third is very subtle, like calm, 30s. That thing is there. So that's all I love. And this filmmaker Varsha, she is the like what you call the upcoming filmmakers to watch out, man. I think she will be like in that level, like Zoya Akhtar or Bima Kazi.
Yeah, I like the film too. I thought it was a striking film about a young woman essentially making her way, through adolescence, college years, and 20s. It's far from perfect, but I really like the way that it touches on one's constantly evolving idea about things, right? As we grow older. So, our ideas around defiance, freedom, reconciliation with parents keeps on evolving. And I think that the movie does a great job of showing that. It's a coming of age film, like you said, but it's so much more. Just like one another film in the list today that we'll be talking about later on. I enjoyed Bad Girl.
I watched the movie and I like the way the movie is shot and everything. And I thought Shanti Priya, the mother's character played by Shanti Priya, I felt she was the most well-defined character in the movie, which is something I didn't feel about Ramya, that is Anjali Sivaraman's character. Not taking anything away from her performance. Her performance is super, but I felt her character. I mean, we know her only through the situation she gets into. I don't see. I don't like. How do I put it? Like, okay, she's going through life, something happens, she falls for a guy, and things go wrong again. In college she falls for a guy, things go wrong again, okay. But it sort of feels like her character, her life is only defined by these misadventures. I wanted to know more about this character, like what makes her tick, like why does she want to keep falling in love, why does she. Okay, it is sort of explained like in a throwaway line. You remember she's talking to a best friend and she says something about when the times were good, they were really good, or something like that, she says. But otherwise, I felt, her character more, it's more of a reactive character where she's just, getting into shit that, spirals out of control. Because, see, now we talk about, her character and everything. But if you ask randomly some person who watched the movie, okay, what does Ramya's character do in the movie, like as an adult? Most people wouldn't remember. Then maybe you'll again rewatch the movie and you'll see in one scene, oh, she works as a designer for an architect or something. But other than that, like, what does she do professionally? Why is she in this particular situation, etc.? I don't know. Maybe this is just my opinion, but I felt her characterization was very confused, which is a pity because her performance is brilliant. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I liked the way the movie focuses on close-ups throughout. It keeps showing people's faces and how I really like that. I mean, that was really interesting. But overall, as I said, the movie, it didn't fully work for me. I liked what it's trying to say, but it didn't work fully for me. That's my opinion on Bad Girl. I think yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
And Amit Trivedi, man. Amit Trivedi, superb music. Man.
Yeah, of course.
Forget, please ignore Anirudh and please hire him.
Amit Trivedi is awesome, man. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, superb music. Like his soundtrack was superb in the film.
Right, it's like he's showing that he
And,
still has stuff. Yeah, he still has stuff left in him. So yeah.
Metro Indino. Probably my favorite Basu film now. Barely aging out Jakka. I just loved its whole tapestry, of music, color, form, light. It's a very strong testament to what cinema can achieve and often is that it's one of the strongest medium to tell stories of emotion and the romance of emotion. And I think Basu really gets that. He has been doing these movies, many of the, like Burfi or even like Jagga and the first Metro. I think he really gets that. And he's so good at extracting that from this medium that all of us love so much. And we have Basu here doing, all kinds of, Wong Kar-wai things with the mirrors. It's, the frames look gorgeous. The frames look very Asian, quote unquote. And that's why I said Wong Kar-wai. And I really dug this film. And the soundtrack was to die for. I think, this was Pritam in his element after a long time for me. And I really loved the songs. And again, across the board, great acting. All of the tracks worked for me. So I really loved Metro Indino. It was a great film.
I didn't like the film much, but some things, some concepts, some ideas were good in the film. Especially, I liked the coming of age thing of that girl, little girl, Pankaj Tripathi and Kokna Sen Sharma's daughter character.
Right.
Like coming out of closet kind of a thing happening. So that I liked, and music was superb. But what I felt was, have you seen this? There's a gag. There's a YouTube sketch of online AID where there's a Alia Bhatt YouTube sketch where Alia Bhatt is having something and suddenly Rohan Joshi and the other
It's a pretty
members
old
of
one, right?
AID comes out and sings this song, Ishq Wala Love. Same I felt while watching Metro Indino. After every 5 minutes, this Preetham and gang is coming and they're singing songs. It becomes annoying like after the point. But the songs were super. Papons, that is like my new year. That was my earworm of this year. Papon's version of Kaide. Yeah, and I didn't like the chemistry also between Aditya Roy Kapoor and Sara Ali Khan. And I missed Irfan Khan whenever Monty's character comes. Monty, like Pankaj Tripathi, that was a tribute to his character's name in
Yes.
Life on a Myth. But overall, it was not that great.
It didn't work for you. Okay. Thuda Room. Who wants to go first?
Turarum was like, for me, it was like Paisa Vasool theater experience I had watching it. Though the film story is like generic, not that like what you say extraordinary. It's like it has that mass masala template in the film, and it reminds you of Drishyam also, the plot. But that elevation, that and the villain's character, George Sir, he was standout. It can like his character can be the one of the best villains or the greatest villain in future when you list out the greatest villains in Malayalam cinema. So that character was really good, and they made that character surprise. Like it was a surprising factor. They didn't promote much about the villain. Like after the film, after people started talking about the character, then they revealed him, and then they took his interviews and all. And there are so many elevation scenes I love, and this was like proper Mohanlal's comeback. Though Emburan made money, but it was not that great. But Sudarum like was his star like comeback vehicle. And there's one particular scene that was the theater moment of 2025 for me, where he jumps out from that window or something. Like from that
That's a
was
great
like
Masi scene.
Laleta, Laleta. That scene I got. So yeah, that was the best.
Yeah, I thought Thudarum was fun. I enjoyed the movie as a Mohanlal movie. It's once again Mohanlal in that Drishyam kind of mold where a family man in extraordinary pickle scenario. But it's immensely entertaining, and I think the payoff delivers, like you said. So I enjoyed it, and if you have in this kind of a film, which is like a pretty much a Masi or a semi-Masi film, if you are rooting for the main guy, Benz, from very early on till the end, then I think it has achieved its, goal. So I think that this was a fun movie. Moving on to Maha Avatar Narasimha. So I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch this. Did any of you got a chance to watch this? Okay. So I really like this movie again because I think it has the heart as well as the animation firepower, required to tell larger than life storytelling. And it's that rare, solid win for Indian animation. It's the kind of film where that the next film of this director is probably going to be a banger. I think this is his first film. And it's just really good, engaging, rooted, homegrown animation. So if you haven't watched it, I would, recommend it. It's on Netflix. A lot of people didn't watch it, but it was a huge hit. Again, I mean, in the cinemas, it had a big run. So do check it out. The next movie is a little Marathi movie that I'm a big fan of. And Marathi cinema had a great year, actually. 2025 was a good year. There were a lot of good films. There was आता थांबायचं नाही, Gondhar. There was Dashavtar. There was Arpar. There was a lot of good films. But the one film that I want to talk about is called April, May 99. It's a coming of age film, but again, just like Bad Girl, it's a little bit more than just that. It's a coming of age film, but it's more than that. It's a coming of age film of a slightly different breed. It's one that's really an ode to the nostalgia of a particular era, like pre-internet, pre-social media, 1999 to be precise, when adolescence felt much simpler, much more innocent. And it's bold. There are some scenes where the scenes are pretty bold without giving out too much about the film. And it tugs at your heartstrings again, and it really makes you pine for those simpler times. It's an excellent ensemble cast. It's directed by a guy called Rohan Mapuskar, who's cousin of Rajesh Mapuskar, who you might know as the director of Ferrari Ki Savari and Ventilator, another good Marathi film. And it's beautifully shot by a very new cinematographer, Apurva Shaligram. The visuals are just stunning. It's shot, on coastal Maharashtra, around Srivardhan and Harihareshwar area. And it's the kind of movie that stays with you. And like I said, just like Bad Girl, it's a little bit more than just a coming of age film. So do watch this film. I won't say more about it, but I think this is a really good film that needs to be talked about more. And then we have Dhadak 2.
Yeah, so Dhadak 2, when it was first announced and I got to know that, okay, this is a remake, an adaptation of Pariyerum Perumal, I was a little concerned because, let's be honest, Dhadak, the first, didn't really do justice to Sairat. So,
Absolutely.
but then the movie was a pleasant surprise. I liked how it took the basic idea of Pariyerum Perumal, but it built on it. See, Pariyerum Perumal to me was a much more internalized movie. It focuses mainly on the character and just his story. But here it builds a whole world around him, and that is what made this movie a very interesting attempt. The music is fantastic. The performances, Siddhanta and Tripti, are really good. And I just need to mention the in terms of performances, I thought Saad Bilgrami, who plays Ronnie, the nasty cousin, you know, you, it's a testament to his performance that every time he comes on screen, you want to reach out and strangle him. And I thought this thing. I thought, and Priyank Tiwari, who plays the student leader Shekhar, whose character is sort of inspired by Rohit Vemula, I thought he was very good. See, all these elements really elevate, Dhadak too, because you realize that he's see, in Pariyerum Perumal, it's all about the main characters, struggle and all. But here, you realize that he's a product of his environment, and he has there are so many things around him that are happening simultaneously, and how he becomes who he is because of what's happening around him. And I liked Vipin Sharma's character as well, especially there's this one beautiful scene where, like, see, till now he's been like this absentee father, and because see, again in Pariyerum Perumal, the father's character only shows up to get hazed by his nasty classmates, but here he gets a couple of extra scenes where he has this beautiful heart to heart with his son and tells him, see, I'm doing this in spite of people making fun of me. Why? Because I want to. So similarly, you got to be that way in life. And also his mother, played by Anuba Fatehpuria, as you observe a character, you realize, okay, she was once a village leader or something. She's like the leader, the matriarch of that community and all, and people look up to her for wisdom, even though she faces harassment from the cops, etc. So all this stuff I really found interesting. And the principal, played by Zakir Hussain, you realize that he's a guy who's come up the hard way, and he's faced his share of oppression, etc. And the one of the biggest improvements in this movie for me was Tripti Dimri's character, the girl. She seems a lot more sensible and clued compared to in that she in Pariyerum Perumal, she was too naive. It got annoying after a point. Like, surely you can't be that clueless. But here, that she sort of knows stuff, but because of her caste privilege, etc., she can't look past certain things. Only when she's faced with it. Like, if you remember, there's a scene where she goes to meet him in his slum area, and he's trying to dodge her, and she's keep following him, and that was a sort of interesting visual this thing to show that she wants to get in and understand him, but he's not comfortable with her invading his personal space. So that all these elements really made this movie very different. And yeah, one thing where this fell short was Saurabh Sachdeva's character lacked the menace that Mestri Tata had in the original. But if you watch this as a standalone movie, yes, it's very good. But if you compare it to that, I felt his character, he's very good. See, Saurabh Sachdeva is a very fine actor, but that menace, the fear you actually feel when Mestri Tata comes on screen in Pariyerum Perumal, that was missing here. That was my opinion. But overall, yes, it is a very solid attempt, and I think it's another movie that a lot of people should watch.
Yeah, for me, I didn't like it that much. I thought it was a good attempt, but I just absolutely love, Perumal. I mean, I've seen that movie multiple times. I love that soundtrack. And I just kept on comparing it to that movie, and it's nowhere close to that movie. So, I thought that it kind of never came out of its shadows. But like you said, it's an interesting attempt, and I'm glad that this movie was remade in Hindi. So, because then it goes to a wider audience. But I'm a big fan of the original film, so I would recommend you watch that film first and then watch Dhadak 2 in case you haven't seen it.
Same, I am also a big fan of Hariharan Parmas. But this film actually surprised me because I watched it because people were raving on Twitter and other social media platforms. This film. So I just wanted to watched this film to just compare with the original. But when I started watching it, that comparison gone for a thought. Like I just watched like a standalone film. The biggest pet peeve of this film is the title itself. The title itself is the enemy of this film. Ladakh 2. If they would have changed the title and made some independent, gave some independent title to the film, I think it would have worked more. And this came after during that Sayara mammoth happening, mayhem happening that time. So I think people were comparing it with the people were saying that this is also like an another romantic film. So I think that's why people didn't watch the film. But Shazia Iqbal, I think the film is surprisingly good because of her making and writing. Because of remake is not about making it as it is, like copy paste. Like the writer should take the story and make it like move it further. So that same thing, that exact thing Shazia Iqbal did. Like she took the character, she took the plot, and she added her nuances into it. And she gave us, like Vikram said, that comparing to the Tamil version, the female character doesn't have much agency. She, after a point, she becomes creepy from Kabir Singh in the Tamil version. But here she gets that agency, and in the end, she yells and all. That that gives that impact to the scene and the character. And Siddharth's performance was superb in this film. He was good. He was really good. And Vipin Sharma's also performance was like, even in the original Vipin Sharma's character, that guy, protagonist father's character doesn't have much in the film. Only that the particular scene is there happening in college, but he doesn't have much voice in the film. So they gave that also in the Hindi remake. So yeah, overall it was very good. I liked it.
I think every Malayali who has spoken to about this movie, their first question is, "चल मेरे सामने आलापुड़ा pronounce करके दिखा." It is like sort of testing whether I really watched that movie or not. I think one of the most interesting things about this movie is that a lot of people went in expecting this movie to be a standard sports biopic. Not a biopic, I'd say a sports movie where a bunch of losers. They learn boxing, everything, and in the end, they all win their bouts and walk away with all the glory. So when that doesn't happen, this movie subverts that expectation, and because of that, a lot of people walked away from this movie dissatisfied. They were like, "Arey, maza nahi hai." But for me, what worked is the lesson of this movie is it's undying optimism. They lose, but they're like, we'll be back again next year. I like that, especially Naslin's character. And Naslin's character, I found him particularly funny because I like how he's willing to do anything and everything. Like, he has this almost unhinged optimism in him. Like, he's always up for anything. Like, one really funny bit is our man has been knocked out. He's lost his bout. You would think he'd go away and sulk or something. Instead, he sees that the girl he has a crush on, Natasha, her her bout is about to begin, and then that Panjara Punch song starts playing, and he's like fully flattened, and you're just laughing at the absurdity of it. But then you realize that's what life's about. That is the main lesson of this movie. That okay, life is gonna knock you out, but you just keep rolling with the punches and moving on. And the performances in this movie, again, see, it's an entirely young bunch, mostly actors who are not that well. Some of them will be. Now, for example, Sandeep Pradeep, who is in Alapura Gymkhana, this has been his breakout year thanks to two movies called Padakalam. Again, brilliant movie. I forgot to mention it in our list, but we'll discuss it some other day. And the new movie Eco, which is coming on Hotstar tomorrow, and I look forward to watching it. Sandeep is an very exciting talent, just like Naslin, and I really look forward to seeing what he's doing in the future. And Anagha Ravi as Natasha, man, she stole the show. Like, this is like, a girl with crazy attitude. Like, she's good. She's a great boxer. She knows it. But she's super confident. She's not arrogant, but she's super confident. And she doesn't suffer fools easily, which is why I had a good laugh whenever, Naslin's character goes and hits on her and ends up falling flat on his face. And the other supporting characters like Ganpati, who plays Deepak and all, sweet characters. And of course, Lukman Avaran as their boxing coach who has his own baggage and all that, he brings one different level of intensity. But in the end, even you come to know even he's a loser in his own way. Ultimately, Alapula Gymkhana is about losers who want to be winners. And you know that they are not the kind of guys who will give up. So that's what made this movie really a memorable experience for.
Yeah, I saw this film and this film actually didn't work for me much because I felt that it's too episodic. Like after first half, second half also the same thing happens. Like again, one of the guy comes and he gets beaten up and then he loses. The same thing happens. Like what happened in first half, same thing happened in second half also, and doesn't have a proper closure to the film. It's so episodic that it ends also in an episodic way. That's why it didn't work for me much because I expected it to be like a proper sports drama. That's why maybe like Vikram said. So that's why it disappointed me. And that episodic thing, Malayalam movies does that a lot. Like there are a lot of movies which become like they don't follow third act structure and out like episodic. Some movies work, some doesn't work. It just comes in that category. Doesn't work category.
So the next movie is one of the biggest hits of this year. I know Saurabh is a big fan of Sayyara, and he's one of those guys who totally broke down in the cinemas after watching that film, and he had to be comforted and consoled out of the cinema hall. But no, I'm kidding.
Hope he wasn't put on. I hope he didn't show up at the hospital with drips and all attached to him.
I was the guy with bare body, like taking off your shirt and calling all the actors' names while
Yes, Sayara was interesting. When the trailer dropped, I thought this looked like Pro Max, fan service for Mohit Suri fans. I, told my wife that if this movie really lives up to what the trailer is, showing, I think this might be a hit. And, she laughed at me and she said, those kind of movies are done. Nobody watches those kind of movies nowadays and everything. And, I always thought this was a dark horse. And because, it had next to zero hype around the leading pair. And the songs were, I think, slowly, catching steam. But there wasn't that much hype to it. There was literally no release marketing of this film. And so I thought, maybe just this is a dark horse. And, when I saw the film, I thought that, hey, this is great. Gen Z is going to get a taste of what we tasted, back in the 2000s, with the early Mohit Suri movies. I think that's what happened. It's Ahan Pandey is a star in the making. His second film is going to be with Ali, and let's see what that movie is about. It's going to be an action drama. There were great songs. Again, this is inspired from a Korean movie. But I think, Gen Z really got a taste of, what we were big fans of, back in the 2000s and mid 2000s. So I think Sayyara was that kind of a dark horse this year. And I think every 90s kid, except Saurabh, that is, but every 90s kid is somewhere a low-key Mohit Suri fan. So I'll be honest, with you guys that, I would count myself as one as well. And I like the movie. I wasn't exactly blown away by it, but I loved the music. Fahim Abdullah's especially title track is just awesome. I think the movie worked. I think, again, this is the kind of movie that tries to do simple things and it succeeds. So I think Sayyara, there is a reason why I think it connected and why it turned out to be a big hit.
See, the main thing about Sayyara, right? Okay, I'll be honest with you, it didn't work for me either because, yeah, too melodramatic, too sappy, whatever. But I respect that it worked for others because of one simple factor. And this is something I keep telling people that this is there's one ingredient which a lot of Bollywood movies, especially the big budget movies that have come out this year, stuff like War 2, etc., what they are lacking conviction. This is the thing is this see back in the 80s, 90s, there are a lot of movies that people would say haven't aged well, from the 80s and 90s, etc. But even today, when you watch them, you enjoy them. Uh, be it the romantic stuff, be it the absolutely absurd stuff like, your Amar Akbar Anthem, because there's a conviction here. There's an honesty to it. Like, dil phad ke hum log apna feelings nikal rahe hain, that sort of thing. That was there in Sayyara. And you mentioned Ahan Pandey, but I would also like to say that Aneet Padda is fabulous. And I wanted to just say that the minute I heard she was cast in this movie, I had a feeling she's gonna do brilliantly because I'd seen her in a web series called Big Girls Don't Cry last year on Amazon Prime, and I thought that of the ensemble of all the girls, which also includes upcoming Hollywood star Avantika, etc., she was the scene stealer. I mean, she plays this proper, she plays the mischievous girl and everything with braces and all that. And she has a very energetic screen presence. Like, you can't look away when she's on screen. So the minute I got to know she's in this, and this role, what she did, Vani, is much more restrained compared to what she was in Big Girls Don't Cry. But I knew that, she's going to do a great job. And my prediction came true. The minute I saw the trailer, I told people she's going to steal the show. She's going to become the nation's sweetheart. That's happened. And now I for one, I'm very excited to see because I rate her with actresses like Nitanshi Goel, Pratibha Ranta, etc. as talents to watch. And I am very excited to see what they bring to the table in their future projects. And yeah, the music, of course, yeah, it brought back memories of songs.pk, pen
Right.
drives, pen drives filled with songs.
Yeah, yeah. The old torrent days,
This
yeah.
album, yeah, this album brought back memories of that. As for the movie itself, like that, although there's one scene I really like, in the end, he asked people, if there's, he asked people to send him, reels of his performance of the song, whatever, and on that big screen,
Oh
her
yeah,
face.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was a very,
That's a
that was
whistle
a
trap.
lovely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
was awesome. Yeah.
that was great. But yeah,
And
other than that, I felt, yeah, because let's be honest, अपने पास भी तो दिल है यार.
of course, of course. And it's like you called it sappy, and which is true, but it's a well-made sappy film. I'll say that. And I
That
should definitely add that yeah, Anit was great. I think Ahan is like star material. And
Mm.
Anit is somebody that comes across as a great actor, that she's going to evolve into a great actor. So I think definitely both of them have a very promising futures.
And that particular scene, Aneet Padda's face on
Yeah,
on
the
that
screen
screen.
and he kneeling down in front of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that is for Gen Zs. That is French cinema. ये तो French cinema है. That particular.
That scene for me that, that scene for me was like totally Mohit Suri, man. That I can totally see like Hashmi, Imran Hashmi doing a scene like that, with Sonal Chauhan on the screen. So like, although that movie was by Kunal Deshmukh, but it's just like those times that it brings back to memory. Guys, the next two films, I'll quickly just, mention them because we are short on time now. But I think in case you guys haven't watched this, do check them out. The first is Humans in Loop. It's about, it's a moving film. It's about people who are quietly training AI, so doing like the labeling stuff and indexing and all that. But it's also about tribal identity. It's also about a mother-daughter bond. And it's streaming on Netflix. Do check it out. It's a very short film. I think it's barely like a little bit more than an hour or so. But do check it out.
I've seen this film. I've seen this film. This was screened in Mami, Mumbai Film Festival, but I couldn't watch that time.
Okay.
But after it got released on Netflix, I watched it. I love the film.
Yeah, it's a great film.
Like,
I highly
so
recommend it.
it's a proper indie film, but it has that beat. Like
Right.
it is not that abstract. It has a proper structure. Most of the indie films have this problem that it meanders a lot. Like doesn't come to
Yeah,
the
no, no.
point.
This is a very nicely made, and it's a very
Right.
yes, yes. It's a very tight story, so it doesn't meander.
And while watching the film, I didn't know about that marriage thing. Butku, don't know the term like that marriage.
Yeah, yeah,
It,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's like a living relationship, but due to poor circumstances, like due to poverty
Due to
that
financial
happens in that
circumstances. Yes,
financial circumstances that happens in tribal communities. So I didn't know about that. I got to know about after
same,
watching
same. Yes, yes.
it.
Yeah. So check it out. It streams on Netflix. It's called Humans in the Loop. And then there was another small film this year that was really good, which I really enjoyed. It's called Stolen. It's a compelling raw thriller. It stars Abhishek Banerjee. And again, this is, it's a thriller, but it has threads of class divide, the price of taking a stand, going out of the way to help out a stranger and those kind of things. But again, at little over 90 minutes, it's one of the leaner thrillers in recent times. And this is just a great movie. It's written really tightly, and like I said, it's a pretty good film. It's a solid thriller, but it has a lot of commentary as well. So do check it out. And I think this one streams on Amazon. So if you want to watch it.
There's that mob lynching scene in the movie where I've, I mean, you actually, how do I put it here? It's very visceral. Like during that entire sequence, I think I was just holding my breath. I don't know. I was like,
It's
I
unsettling.
couldn't look
It's
at.
unsettling. Yeah.
It's very, very unsettling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is, and and it's especially freaky because you know that the story happened in real life, and thankfully, this movie sort of deviates from what happened in real life. Thankfully, because otherwise, I think it would have been way darker, and I'm grateful for that.
Vikram, it's you now. It's both of your favorite films, Empuran and Thug Life. So,
I think we should announce it by yelling "Empuran, Empuran" and showing the L. So the thing is, I was definitely excited for Empuran, and I think that it did a lot of things right. And the opening sequence, showing the violence in Gujarat, etc., it's brilliant. I was like, that is how you start a film, But then, where the movie went wrong for me is this is something I think even Saurabh would agree with me is that I liked Lucifer better when it focused on Stephen Nedumpalli than on Qureshi Abram because Stephen is a more rooted character. He's the man of mystery. So when the story focuses on that character, the movie is a lot more interesting. The minute this larger than life global man of mystery, the whatever Qureshi Abram comes on, I don't know. It felt like it felt too filmy. As in, I mean, I know it's a mainstream movie, it's a mainstream masala movie, but why Lucifer worked for me is that it was rooted. It was in the Kerala political situation, etc. And also that made it interesting. Second thing that really pissed me off about this movie is the sudden 180-degree turn that Tovino's character takes. It was like, it came out of nowhere. I mean, at least for me, it came out of nowhere. There's nothing like he goes from being this idealistic politician in part one to suddenly being this crooked guy and everything. And I found it really stupid. And I'd like to point out that even though it's a Mohanlal movie, I think Manju Warrior had the best mass moment in Empuran. That scene where, they come to arrest her and what follows. If I was in the theater for this movie, I would have visited. I didn't go to the theater because I got to know that, they censored certain bits and all. So I figured, screw it, I'm going to watch this on OTT. But yeah, it's a solid watch. And again, like Dhurandhar, I didn't feel restless at all. But like I said, if it had focused more on Stephen than Qureshi, the movie would have carried a lot more weight. Yeah, and yeah, everything else was just fine. And now I mean, I know the odds of this are less, but I really hope that part three comes out and this trilogy is finished because I really want to know what happens next. No, but
but
I
guys,
have to say, I have to say, Mohanlal is having a really interesting, even though Empuran
His
underperformed.
recent movie is not doing too well, right? The one that just came out.
Hridayapuram, no, it did decently. No,
No,
it's a
there
sweet
wasn't
movie.
there another movie that came out this Friday?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
Vrishabhan,
The
Vrishabhan.
Telugu film.
Yeah.
So, dude, let's not consider it a Mohanlal.
Oh, that's not a Mohanlal movie. Okay.
Let's not consider it one. But yeah, Hridayapurvam was another lovely movie.
हाँ वो देखनी है यार
So,
मुझे. Yeah. Saurabh was telling me
uh,
about. Yeah. I still
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
watched it.
So,
I got.
you watched
Should
me
watch.
discuss it today.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
very
yeah.
sweet film.
And I like Malvika,
Now,
so I'll definitely check it out.
yeah, definitely. And yeah, let's end it all with the biggest disappointment of 2025. As
Absolutely.
life. I mean, when I heard that, oh wow, Mani Ratnam and Kamal Hassan are coming together, I was like, after 38 years, I was like, damn, this is gonna be epic. Now I know that. I mean, I have some friends who work with money and within the industry, and also I was sort of told that okay, this is not going to be a Nayakan level, very intense cinema, but this is a more of a breather movie that Mani is doing post because Ponniyin Selvan, 2 movies. He spent what 3-4 years of his life shooting it. So obviously he wanted something to do real quick. But still, how hard would it have been to make something with a somewhat decent script? See, I'll give you my example of where the movie started slipping, and this is right in the beginning. The movie starts off well, that whole black and white shootout, and DH Kamal and all looking really good. You started and you're like, okay, this is good. Then the movie starts off with Kamal's niece committing suicide because of being spurned by her lover. You would expect okay a very intense action sequence. Instead, we have one very stupid looking entry sequence for Simbu with some music playing, and these guys are like treating it as if they're on a jolly ride rather than taking revenge for a death in the family. And then on, I mean, the movie just went in random directions. And to add to that, at least this is what I noticed is that see, Kamal plays a Don from a certain area in Tamil Nadu. So his accent is supposed to be a certain way. Some scenes the accent is proper, some scenes he is speaking in his normal manner. And I'm like, wow, I mean, this is not something you expect from, Kamal Hassan. And some of the scenes are absolutely ridiculous. Like they're just badly done, badly framed, bad everything. Like the scene where the assassination attempt in the mountains, where and si- this is really sad because Silambarasan, for all his controversies, is a very good actor, and Mani extracted a very good performance out of him in Chekkachivanta Vanam. So I was expecting that, but here I don't know. It is like even he seemed clueless about what's going on, and the entire second half is just some random shit happening. Okay, some revenge is going on. Then there's some sudden revelation that someone is somebody's brother, sister, all that nonsense. And by the end, all you're left with is a massive headache. And I must profess my gratitude to Kamal Hassan for making that stupid statement, due to which that movie wasn't released in Karnataka. Because if that was the case, I would have been very angry if I had spent $400 on this movie at the theater. That's all I can say. But yeah, Hug Life, massive disappointment. I really hope Mani bounces back from this. I really hope Kamal bounces back from this real soon.
Instead of Thug Life, the film's title should have been Tharak Life because Kamal Hassan is horny throughout the film.
Oh yeah, and I just wanted to add, there are some bits in the movie where the money touch is still there, like the scenes where Kamal interacts with his wife played by Abhirami. Those scenes, yeah, that money touches there, the playfulness, the interplay with dialogues, but some scenes are utterly ridiculous. Like there's one scene where Silambarasan and Trisha are just walking on the beach and talking about something, and I remember pausing the movie and texting my friend saying, this feels like an outtake from Vinay Tandi Varuvaya. It's like almost Gautam Menon landed up on the set and Mani sir told him, bye, ye scene tu dekh le. I know, I think my Tamil friends will beat me up after listening to all this, but yeah, I mean, this is how frustrating the movie was. And what a waste of Jojo George, man. I mean, this guy is like such a fantastic actor. And I remember in the press conferences before the movie, Kamal was praising Jojo so much, saying, brilliant actor, brilliant. And here he is nothing but a glorified henchman who gets killed off at some point. Atrocious. I don't know. And the thing is, see, it's not like Mani's made movies that didn't work earlier, like Kadal and all that. But at least those movies, there was something, that you could make out. There is some effort. There was something. Okay, even if it didn't translate into, a good on-screen offering. But Hug Life, none of that is there. So yeah, that's about it. I'm sure there were other movies that you'd have loved to discuss, but I think we've already gone beyond time. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add that Thug Life was a big disappointment, like you said, Vikram. And at first, I hoped that it would play out like CCV, which I liked. And I was hoping that because it was cool to see with CCV that the stylist in Money, take over for a change. So I really enjoyed that film. And I was hoping something like that would happen with Thug Life at some point of time, but it never did. And, I'm a Money fanboy, like most of us are. And I'm sure that all three of us are. But like I always say, you can be a fanboy, but you got to be an honest fanboy. So, this was a big disappointment.
So overall, I would say 2025 was a decent year. And
Yeah, I think so.
I think another excellent theatrical experience I have was in a movie which we didn't talk about, but I would recommend you guys watch it on Netflix if you find the time. They call him OG with Pawan Kalyan. It's just pure Pawan Kalyan fan service with a lot of action. Don't expect too much from it. Just watch it. What I would suggest is have 2 shots of espresso before, because you need to be caffeinated to truly enjoy this movie, and watch it on loud volume. This is something I definitely
It's
suggest.
a gangster genre?
Yeah, it is. It's on Netflix. So watch it when you get the time.
Okay, great.
Then yeah, there are many other movies. I'm sure we'll keep tweeting about it. And
Of course, yeah. That's a great note to end our little discussion on, guys. Thank you so much for doing this little year-end wrap of ours. And I think like Vikram said, there's so many movies, so many more movies that we could have talked about, but time is.
I would have loved to talk about some of the web series this year as well, like Black.
Yeah, we'll see if we can do something like that later next month. I have some ideas in my hand. Let's see, time.
Sorry, but I'm disappointed with this podcast. I'm thoroughly disappointed with this
Why is
podcast
that?
because we didn't discuss Ek Diwani Ki Diwani before.
I'm gonna watch that film. I'm gonna watch that film. I just haven't seen that film yet. So I'm definitely gonna watch that film. I just haven't seen it yet.
Same here. Okay, guys. So thank you so much. Himanshu, it's really so good for having us here.
No, thank you guys. I really value your guys' takes, and this was great fun. So thanks a lot for joining in, and we'll do this again sometime soon. If you liked the episode, do spread the word on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your pods. Also, please do drop us a review when you get a chance. You can follow me on Twitter and Insta at loveofcinemasf8. You can reach me by email with your suggestions and comments, and you will find the email ID in the show notes. That's the episode. This is Himanshu, signing off, and like always, thank you for listening to the Love of Cinema podcast.